Welcome. Welcome to the Pesach comic workshop, where I'm going to be teaching you how to make your very own Pesach comics. My name is Andrew Gallitzer, and I am an artist. I've been drawing for like all of my life. And one thing that I really love to do is draw comics. I've actually been drawing comics for the past 6 years. Since I was 12, I've been drawing comics on the Parsha. That's what you can see behind me. I've Parsha comics I've been redoing every single year. And right now I'm super excited to be teaching you guys how to make your very own Pesach comics. I've been teaching drawing classes for a really long time, and I'm super excited to be doing this special Pesach workshop for you guys to enjoy. For this workshop, all you need is a pencil, an eraser, and the comic boxes. Okay, the comic boxes should be available to you in your email, or your parents should be able to access it. And you want to make sure that your parents print them out. Okay, it's 4 pages of the comic boxes, and they look kind of like this over here. Okay, just like the blank boxes, they look just like that, but it's a different one for each page. Okay, so you want to make sure that they print that out for you. You have 4 pages of it, and you need a pencil. Maybe you want a pen to go over it after, and maybe you want something to color in the comics. This workshop is a little bit long because it's 4 full pages of comics. So what I recommend is after each page, maybe you want to take a break, maybe do it one day, then the next day do the next page, the next day the next page. So you can press pause whenever you want to either catch up on steps, maybe add in more detail, or take a break and continue later. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and start our first page. All right, guys, here we go. So here I have my comic boxes for this first comic, the story. You'll notice I don't have a title over here. So if you do not have a title, you can add in a title, and you can fill in the by writing your name. Okay, that's always the should be the first step. Okay, so if you don't have a title like me, you could just write in a title like maybe the Pesach story. I'm just writing Pesach story. Or you can come up with your own title if you don't have one. You copy mine, or you can really come up with whatever you want. Maybe you just want to write Pesach, Passover, all up to you, because it is the Pesach story. Then over here where it says by, make sure you write your name. Okay, you write your name because you are the artist. All right, I want to write my name because I'm the one drawing on this one. I'm going to write Andrew Gallitzer. Like that. That's just a good first step, just to make sure that we're all prepared and ready to go. All right, now we are ready to start with our first box. And this first box is coming after the whole Yosef story, where Yosef is reunited with his brothers, and Yosef was so great to all of Egypt. But then look what happens. A new Paro comes to power who does not know Yosef, and he makes all of the Jews slaves. Oh no. Okay. So what we have is a new Paro, and he's very mean to the Jews, because it says in one of the first psukim of Shemot that he didn't know Yosef, so he wasn't so nice to the Jews, and he made them slaves. And that's how we start our Pesach story. So in this comic, we actually have Paro telling his Egyptians and the maidservants to throw the Jewish boys into the Nile, okay, into the Nile River. So over here, we're going to draw Paro right over here, and we're going to have the river in the background. Okay, so to start out our person, which is Paro over here, we're going to start with a circle. And it's important that you start your circle towards the bottom, like right under where this triangle is from that speech bubble, to show that he's talking. So I'm going to start with a little circle. And you can see that I'm drawing very lightly. Like it's almost impossible to see my drawing because it's so light. Okay, so you want to make sure you keep it very light whenever you start your drawing. That way it'll make it easier on your eraser to erase it. Okay, now that we have the circle, now we can add in the different parts of his face. And one thing I want to add that will make Paro look like Paro is a little like crown type of thing that Egyptian kings have on them. Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can just watch how I do it first. and then follow along. It's kind of a weird shape. It starts off with like a cutout. It's kind of like a hat that has like little like snaky part that comes down. Okay, kind of like a hat. So I'm gonna start by just doing a little part of like the hat right over here. Little line. That's like the line that goes on top of his forehead. Just a little line for his forehead. Where his forehead kind of meets his like crown type of thing. And then from there, on this side, kind of right in the middle of our circle, I'm going to make this curve kind of go down, a curved line go down, like a squiggle, then go out, okay? Watch this, guys. I'm gonna start, curve down, and then out. Okay, so it's kind of like a little curve over there. And if this is too complicated for you, if you have a different idea or you don't want to do this version of a crown, you are more than welcome to try something else. And I'd be happy to see your creativity in what you decide to do. But there's the beginning of the crown at the top. And now we can just add in a line for the top of the crown, like the hat, like the top of the hat that goes around. Just add in like a little semicircle over here, like going around the top of the head, like that. And then we can curve it going all the way around the head. Watch it, just following the curve of my circle, following. And then I'm just gonna curve it back down like we did before. Okay, so it's a very similar shape, very similar curve. Same on the right, the same on the left. And now we could do, we won't really be able to see the other side so well. Just do a little bit of like a line over here just to show that's also on the other side. And I'll just darken in some of my lines so you could see what I did. Okay, so I have my circle, and then I have my crown kind of going around and then down, like around, like in the middle, going down, and then a little bit to the side and down. This one goes around his whole head, then comes down. And if you want, you can add in like a little snake or a little like piece sticking out in the front. I'm just adding a little slanted rectangle sticking out in front, like I've seen in pictures and in museums of Egyptian pharaohs. And for the face of the paro, or any faces in my comics, I'll show you guys what I do in my Parsha comics. In the Parsha comics, what I do is I have like little 2 dots for the eyes, some kind of mouth, and eyebrows. And just with those really easy, simple things, you can make so many different emotions. Here are only 4, but you can make like so many, like endless amount of emotions just with those little features. And you can also see I make the, in the Parsha Comics series on the website, you can access the skill video where I went over how to make this, where I actually drew this on Zoom and recorded it. So if you want to see exactly how I make all of my comics and try to make your own hairstyles and everything, all those creative things for comics, you can check out my website and it's all there. Although right now we're gonna make his eyes, his nose, or no nose, I don't do a nose, but if you want, you could do his nose and a mouth. So for his eyes, I'm just going to do 2 little eyes right over here, 2 dots, 1, 2. And since he's looking to the sides, he's looking that way, he's gonna look towards the Nile River. I put his eyes on the side of his head. Right, you see it's on the side of his head. And now his eyebrows, you have to choose what emotion you want for the eyebrows. The eyebrows really make such a big difference, like we saw in that paper just now. And so for the eyebrows, I'm going to do angles down, like little angles going down. Okay, like 2 lines going down, little curves for his eyebrows to make him look angry. Like he's angry at the Jewish people, at the Bnei Israel. Okay, now we can also give him a little mouth. The mouth is a little bit hard to see because it's on the side of his head. So we can just add in a little mouth on the side and make him a little frown. I'm gonna make his mouth open because he's talking. So since he's talking, his mouth open. Here, I'll darken it in so you can see a little bit. Kind of just a frown right over there. And from his head, we're gonna need a body because we don't just have floating heads all around. No, we have to give them bodies. Since we don't really see so much of his body, we actually make it very simple. See, very simple, just like over here. I like to keep my comics super simple. So I'm going to draw two little curves coming from the side. 1 and 2 for his body. And then we can just give him a little arm. For the arm, we could just do like a little curve to make it look like his arm is on his side. And of course, if you want, you can make his arm, you can give more details. Maybe if you have more room, if you drew him higher up or to the side, maybe you can add in more things. But it's just a very easy way to do the body. And like kind of it implies, like it makes someone might think that the rest of the body is there. But since it's a comic, everything stops kind of when you hit this like this box, like the end of the box. And one more thing I want to add to my Paro's crown or helmet, whatever it is. There's just some stripes. And a stripe over there. Oh, before you add the stripes, if you have that circle still, see this little circle I still have there, kind of going within the crown. Now is a good time to erase it. Okay, so if you don't want it, you can erase it. I drew mine so lightly that I almost didn't see it. I almost forgot about it. But you definitely don't want to have that there. So I'll show it again. Now I got rid of it. That circle, that first thing I drew, I just erased right inside the crown. So I kind of just erased it. And I'll just go back to adding in these little stripes. When you color it in, hopefully you'll color it in. I really hope you color it in. Coloring it in is the best part, in my opinion, or one of the best parts. I actually like drawing more. When you color in, you could color in either like orange and yellow or like blue and yellow, really anything you want. But those are just the pictures I imagine when I think of Egypt. Okay, and now we can add in a little bit of the background. Now, the background, as I said, we're going to do the Nile because he said to throw the Jewish boys into the Nile. Now, for the Nile, I'm going to make it like this. Watch this, guys. Watch this. I'm going to make a, actually, first let's make the hills in the background. Okay, so in a different drawing class, I mean, in the Parsha Comic Workshop series, in the month of December, we went over different backgrounds and how to do them. Okay, so if you missed the workshop series for the month of December, or you're just watching this now, you can go ahead and head to my website or email me for this tutorial. It's I think a 10-minute video or 15-minute video that goes over how to draw these different backgrounds and the details over there. If we look over here, the main thing I want to show you are these little hills. These little hills, they're like rounded out triangles. Rounded out triangles. So we're going to make some rounded out triangles in the background of our box over here. Little rounded out triangles. Just a little few rounded out triangles in the background. Those little triangles show where the land and the sky meet. And now we can add in the Nile. The Nile is just going to be a little river going across here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a squiggly line, a very, very thin river. Watch this, guys, very thin. If you look at what it is, it's like a line going across, then a little curve going down, and then another line going across, a little curve going down. Line going across, curve it down, across, curve. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. The other side, I'm going to do the same thing. There's another line going across, curve it down, cross, curve down, cross, curve down. Okay, it makes it look like there's a river going across the desert over here, or across Egypt. And one more detail we can add if we want is just a sky, maybe a little cloud in the sky. For cloud, I like to start with a line going across, and then also just a few little bumps on top, like random bumps. So in this box, we have Moshe is put in a basket. Okay, so Moshe, his mother realized that they were going to take baby Moshe away, so she put baby Moshe in a basket. Okay, so over here, we can draw baby Moshe in a basket. Now, the first thing that I'm going to draw for this box is actually a very big oval. And this oval is going to be the opening of the basket. Okay, watch this, guys. I'm going to make it a little bit of a slanted oval. Just watch how big I make it. Very, very big. So big, actually, it kind of runs out of room at the bottom. which runs out a room at the bottom. It's a little bit angled so that it's not just a straight line, that we can fit more of it in. And again, draw it very lightly because we are going to be erasing parts of this oval. Well, let's just continue drawing this basket. Then we'll move on to Moshe in the basket. So for the next part, we're just gonna draw like towards the bottom of the basket. We're gonna draw a curve. This curve is gonna go from this end of the basket to this end of the basket. Well, we can't really see that end, but you have to imagine it's there. I'm just gonna draw a really wide or really curved curve going all the way down like this, across. Gets cut off because we can't see it over there under the line, and then it comes back around like that. Okay, so whenever we hit this line, you see this line for the comic boxes, we don't draw past there. That's why it's important you have the comic box so you can keep everything in these little boxes. Let's just add in maybe a few little lines coming down, little stripes going down, and then maybe see just a few little lines going down, then also maybe just a few lines going across to make it look like a actual basket instead of just like a little egg. It looks like it's a little basket kind of like weaved together. If you want, you can add more details. Maybe you want to add more lines. Maybe you want to add something else to make it look more like a basket. That's all up to you. Just remember that when I draw comics, I like to keep them very simple, very cartoon-like. Okay, now we can add in Baby Moshe in the basket. Now for Baby Moshe, we can start off with a head, a circle for the head like we did for Paro over here. Not that I'm comparing Moshe to Paro. So over here, we're gonna add in a little circle. It's gonna be kind of at the top of the basket, kind of sticking up a little bit from the basket. And you can see that we have that little curve from that oval we drew before inside of our circle. That's one thing that we're going to erase once we get to that step, once we get to adding the details inside of the head. But now let's just add in maybe Moshe's body, because Moshe doesn't take up the whole basket. He's just a little baby. So we can just add in maybe a few little like bumps for maybe like a blanket, like this, few little wavy lines, so that he's kind of wrapped up inside of the basket. A little curve over there for his other side to make it look like he's under a blanket. So I drew that curve inside of that oval we made before. And now maybe I can make a little hand or something coming out from the blanket to make it look like he's an actual baby instead of just like a circle. For the hand, I'm just gonna make a little rectangle coming out from like right under his head. And I'll do that on both sides. Just little rectangles for his hands. For his arms and for his hands, we'll do little circles. I actually don't have room for a circle on the other side, so I'm just going to leave that side. Well, there's nothing to draw there because you don't see the other side. Now, like we did before with Paro's crown, we can erase the inside his arm because we shouldn't see that line. So we erase inside both of his arms, that little line that went through his arm, and the oval, and also inside of his head, we could erase that little circle line. Like that. So now you can only see his head over there. You don't see the curve going behind his head because that wouldn't make any sense. And you can choose what face you want to give him. I'm just gonna give him a cute little face right here. Give him eyes, two little dots. Two little dots. Give him a little, like what's going on over here? Like a little dot for his mouth. And his eyebrows, I'll make his eyebrows really, really high because he's very confused. Like, what is going on? Why am I in the water? And lastly, for his hair, I'll just give him a little teeny tiny like curve, another curve for his hair, like a little squiggle coming off the top of his head. Funny story, I'll tell you guys as I draw this next one. Next one is just gonna be some little waves in the background to show it's like in the Nile. Just do a few waves in the background, or you can maybe add some different background if you want, or just keep it one color. Funny story, my sister, I'm actually named Aharon Moshe, and my sister thought it would be funny when I was a baby to put me in a basket and put me in a lake because we didn't have any rivers where I'm from. So she actually did. She actually wanted to do that. She wanted to throw me into the lake, but I'm still here. She couldn't get rid of me that easy. So even if your brother's name is Moshe, don't put him in a lake or anything because they only did that to save Moshe, not to get rid of him. In this box over here, we have Paro's daughter coming over to the Nile and seeing baby Moshe, then sending her hand or sending her maidservant to go ahead and get Moshe. It's a disagreement over whether she sent her hand or sent a maidservant, but doesn't matter. We'll just show her holding baby Moshe in this box over here. So over here, we can start off with her head this time. But instead, we'll start off with a circle. We'll start off with her head this time, a little bit bigger because I'll make it like a close-up scene. So bigger circle. And I'll put it a little bit to the side so I can have baby Moshe over here, kind of like she's holding baby Moshe. And one thing that we will hopefully realize is that you can make things different sizes. Like here, I made Moshe really big because I wanted to like zoom in on him. But here, Paro looks very small, especially in comparison to Moshe. So one thing that's really cool in comics is that you can change like how close you are to things between the boxes. So that's one thing that's really cool. And you can really play around with it to make it look really like one thing you could show like a whole city. The next thing you could show like one little house, like one little room. That's something pretty cool that you can do. Okay, so now we have her head, or the circle for her head. We can go ahead and give her some hair. So we're going to have her looking this way, so she's looking at Moshe. So I'm going to give her two bangs, two curves for the bangs. One curve from the left. And you can see it's not going too far in to her head, just a little bit. Another curve for the right. Because we have two curves right here, one going up, one going down. And then from where that curve ended, we can add another line, this time going straight down. Kind of giving her an Egyptian looking hairstyle. Like a very straight hair. And now I can do the same thing that we did with Paro. We just traced over that circle. So I'm just going to darken in the circle, going around the top and the back. Then once I reach the side, instead of going around and continuing going around the circle, I'm just going to make it go down once I reach the end of the circle, basically. And then I connect those two lines with a little curve. To give her her hair. So now that we have her hair, we can give her like the rest of her face. So just darken this circle right over here. And I'm just gonna give her two little eyes like we did for the other faces we have in this comic so far. So two little dots for the eyes. And I'm gonna make her surprised because I would be pretty surprised if I just saw a baby floating in the middle of the water. Wouldn't you? I think you would. What's helpful is whenever you're making a face or you're drawing a face, is to actually make the face on your own face. So if you make a surprised look on your own face while you're drawing that same expression, if you have a mirror, first of all, it's very good, or a camera, something to take a picture with. But even if you don't, just to feel it on your face, it makes it a little bit easier. So right now, my eyebrow's up. I'm going to draw her eyebrows up, like she's very surprised to see a baby in the middle of the river. And I'll also give her a mouth like a little bit open, like what? Like what is going on over here? Why is there a baby just floating in the middle of the river? And if you want, you could also give her a crown. For the crown, it's not going to look like Paro's crown. I'm just going to give her like a little line going across the top of her head. A line going across the top of her head, a little curve, with maybe like a little like triangle on the front or something. I'll just another curve on top, maybe a little circle to make it look like a little crown. Or like a tiara of some sort. Maybe you can give her something else. You want to give her some decorations inside. But again, it's up to you and how you want your drawing to look. You color it in, you color it in gold maybe, make it look really cool. All right, now we are going to switch to drawing Moshe because Moshe is going to be in her arms, like she's going to be holding Moshe. Since Moshe is going to be in front, we are going to draw Moshe now. And we're going to do the same exact thing we did over here. Okay, so same steps. I'm going to draw them. So if you had trouble with that over there, just go watch how I do it again over here. I'm going to start with that same oval, a little tilted oval right there. And then the curves coming down from the oval. And then those little stripes and the lines going across. To add like some texture is what it's called. Looks like it's like a basket now. Instead of just an oval with another curve. And then we can add Moshe's head. And we can add his arms. And two little rectangles with a circle on the end. And then we can add in his blanket. Blanket, just a little wavy line. Going all the way to the end of the basket. And like we had before, we have to erase a little curve that's inside of his head because babies don't have curves inside of their heads or inside of their hands like we did before. And then after we erase the inside of the head and inside the hands, we can add in his face. I think he would be pretty surprised again. So again, you can make a surprise face as you draw his surprise face. And I'm going to make it look like he's a little bit sad because he was just in the water. So I would be a little bit sad. So I'm just going to make him a little like sad face, maybe like he's crying. So if you want, you can also add some cries, like maybe write wah, wah, like W-A-A-A-A. But I'm just gonna keep it like that and add in a little squiggle for his hair. Well, that's a big squiggle for his hair. I guess his hair got longer while he was on the Nile, but if you want, you can change it or make it different, give it more hair, less hair, no hair. I don't know how you give him less hair than that without giving him any hair, but that's up to you. And now we're up to a little bit of a hard step because now we want to make it look like Paro's daughter is holding baby Moshe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by just drawing her body like we did over here with Paro. There's going to be two curves. One coming from under her hair, behind her hair, and another one kind of like that. And now for her arm is the important part because we want to make it look like she's holding the basket. Okay, so we're going to start off this time with her hand. We're going to start with a little circle going right over here, a little circle on the basket. Circle on the basket, then I'm just going to erase inside that circle. Okay, so I know it's hard to see. Erase inside the circle, so now you'll be able to see. That's where I drew her hand. Then I'll just draw two little lines to make it look like she's holding it. Okay, just a line coming, make it look like it's coming from like where her hair is or where her shoulder would be. Then for her other hand, we won't really be able to see it because on the other side, but if you want, you can just add in like a little circle to make it look like she's holding the basket on that side as well. So we can't see her arm going like that under the basket, but now that we have the little circle there, it looks like it is. Now you can choose what you want to do in the background. Either you can do something like that, or maybe like some waves. I'm just gonna fill it with clouds. And maybe just a few mountains just in the bottom. But again, it's up to you and how you want to fill the background. You could do a single color. You can do like a bunch of lines. You can do like we have over here with a Nile. Really all up to you and what you want to do. And just like that, we finished the first row of this first page of the Pesach story. And now we can move on to the second row. Over here we have Moshe. He has grown up. So from this box to this box, he's grown up, and now he kills an Egyptian and runs away. Okay, so an Egyptian was hurting a Jew. An Egyptian was hurting a Jew, and what Moshe saved the Jew by killing the Egyptian, and then he ran away because he was scared of what was going to happen to him if he stayed. So he ran away. So over in this box, we're just going to make some really big mountains to show him running away. Okay, so I'm going to draw like a background, just a bunch of mountains. Really big ones, small ones, all up to you on how you want to fill it. Just a bunch of mountains in the background. And then we can make a little Moshe running away. Okay, so for a little Moshe running away, we can just add in like kind of like a stick figure because it's so small, you'll barely be able to see. We'll start with a little circle, or like a little dot for the head. And then I'll draw it kind of like a stick figure because it's super small. I'll draw a little line, a slanted line for his back because he's running. And then two legs. The first leg is going to be a straight line going forward. Then the other leg is kind of going to be like up in the air. So again, if you are having a hard time picturing, imagining what he would look like when he's running, you could just run yourself and like freeze, like while you're running, like you're freezing, you just freeze mid-run, and you can look at where your legs are. This is how I think his legs would be, like this. Like one leg is out, and then one leg would be up, like that, like he's running. And his arms might be kind of like this, like two little triangles or two little curves like that. And maybe I'll give him little feet. I'm just going to fill in some parts of the stick figure to make it look like he's really there, really running away. And if you want, you can even add some little lines to show that he's running. Like he's running super fast, like he's running away. And if you want to, you could add some more details in the background, like maybe some little hills over here, maybe some clouds. Add some details. The main thing is him running away, so you want to make sure you have that. Now, after he runs away, he sees, a little bit after that, he sees a burning bush. So over here is like one of the most famous pictures, one of the most famous like stories in all of the Torah, where Moshe sees a burning bush. Now the burning bush was Hashem, and Hashem said, "Go save our people, go save the Jewish people." So we're going to draw the burning bush right over here. It's going to be coming from like where this triangle ends. For the burning bush, I'm going to start with a little line, little curve or a little line, just like that, a little bit to the left of that big speech bubble. Then from there, I'm just going to add in a bunch of like branches. What's going to do? I'll start with like a little, make like a little triangle, a really thin triangle for like the main part of the bush. And then I'll add in just a few little curves coming from this side, curve going there, maybe a curve going here, maybe a curve coming from there, maybe a curve coming from here, Just add in a whole bunch of little curves wherever you want, wherever you can fit. And maybe you can add in just a few little leaves on there as well, if you want to. A few little leaves. And then we want to add in the fire. Now the fire is, well, all fires are really fun to draw. And that's because you just want to do like really curvy curves, like this big curve coming from the sides, some curves on the bottom, some curves on the top. Just a bunch of curves. You can see the curves, they're all going up. And as they go up, they get smaller and smaller, like thinner and thinner as they go up towards the top. Again, you just want to have a bunch of curves going around the burning bush. Now we also want to add in Moshe. So Moshe, I'm going to make him standing right over here. We'll start with his head being a circle. And he's facing the burning bush. So we'll really only see like his back. You'll see his back over here, two little curves for his back. And maybe two more curves or one big curve for his arm. And if you want to, you could give him a beard, because I always imagine Moshe to have a beard, even at this point. So I'm going to give him just a few little bumps, like a few little, kind of like a cloud shape coming from the side of his face and going down. Watch this. So we can't really see the rest of his beard because he's facing that way. So we only see like the side of it. Kind of like where his ear would go if I wanted to draw the ear. But I like to just keep my drawing simple. Then we can also give him maybe we can see one eye. He's looking to the side. And give him his eyebrow going up. And even though he probably did not wear a kippah back then, because Jews did not wear kippahs back then, I'm just going to give him a kippah, with just a little oval on the top of his head. Okay, and I'll just erase that circle in that went through his beard and darken in the beard so you can see it a little bit better. Like that. And we can also give him maybe just a little walking stick, his staff, which is just a really big curve, kind of like a candy cane. And in the background over here, you can just add in a bunch of lines coming from the burning bush, like draw attention to it. That's one background I like to do when you have like something crazy going on and you want like that to be like the focus, like everything to like look towards there. Okay, I'm just adding a few more details to the bush. Okay, now we are ready to move on to the last scene of this first page of the Pesach story. And over here we have Moshe and Aharon going to Paro, asking them to let our people go. Let my people go. So over here we're going to have three people. We're going to have Moshe, we're going to have Aharon, Moshe, and Paro. So we're going to have three heads. We're going to start with three circles. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, all around the same size. I made Paro just a little bit higher because he is the Paro. And now we can start adding in other details to their faces. So for Moshe, I'll start with his beard. His beard, this time we'll see his whole beard. So we'll start with just like a cloud shape going around the bottom of his face. Like that, just a really big cloud shape. Like a really big beard. I'll also give him his kippah. And then for Aharon, I'll just leave him with no beard, just to keep it nice and easy. And I'll give them their eyes. Okay, their eyes. I'll have Aharon looking towards Paro. I'll also give Paro his eyes. And now I can also give Paro his weird little crown. So it's gonna be just like we did before. We'll have a little curve coming from right above his eye, his forehead. We'll curve it around and then down, down and around, with that little piece, that little rectangle sticking out in front, and some little lines going across. And I'm actually going to make him really angry. So he's going to have eyebrows like this. Made his eyes really big, gave him some really, I'll erase it, I'll redraw so you can see a little bit better. Basically, I made his eyes, all right, 2 little dots. Then I made 2 eyebrows going down like that. Then I'll make his mouth open and angry. Like that. And now we have Aharon's face left. So I'll give him eyebrows going up, like he's pleading, and an open mouth because he's talking. And lastly, for his face, I'll just give him a little kippah. And look at that, I almost forgot Moshe's eyebrows and face. I'll give his eyebrows also up, and also an open mouth, like he's a little bit surprised. Or he could be sad because Paro just said no. Well, he didn't say no. He said, no, no, no. I will not let them go. Now we can add in their bodies very quickly. Paro is going to have his arms on his side because he's like being very mean. So we're going to have his arm go out, like an arm going out and then in. And then another same kind of shape, just over here, just out and in for his arm and his elbow, kind of like 2 little triangles. And then I'll just finish off his shape by just giving him 2 curves for the rest of his body. When you colored him in like orange or yellow or green. Add in his other side of his crown, is right over here. Make it look like it continues over there as well. Then for Moshe and Aharon, we can also give them their body. Just 2 little curves. Maybe another like curve for the arm, like this, kind of like a line at the bottom, and then kind of like making a rectangle at the top, just curve it. And we do the same thing for Aharon. For Aharon, we're not going to really see him so much just because he's behind the bubble. That's the way I drew him. If you drew him further to the left, you might be able to see him better. You just want to make sure that you give him a body, even if you can't see it. So you can just draw it behind the bubble. So don't draw over the bubble. And then lastly, we can give them little like belts or something just for their clothes. Make it look like they're wearing something on their clothes, like on top of their clothes, with just 2 little curves going across. And then in the background, we can make the sky. So in the background for the sky, or we can make this background that I taught in the Parsha Comic Workshop series, where we have this little palace. So either you make the sky kind of like we did in the other boxes, or very quickly, I'm going to make this palace. But if you want to learn the actual steps for that, you can check out my website, andidrew.com/comic, or you can email me. My email is art@andidrew.com. Let's do this very quickly, just because we are running out of time for this first page. Making the pillars, and then the background. Okay, so there is the comic for the first page of the Pesach story. We are continuing the Pesach story, and we are starting off at right after Paro says, no, 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 I will not let them go, right after the end of Parshat Shemot. So now we're going to continue from that end of that page of comics. And we're going to continue on to the next page of comics, which you should have printed out right over here. And we're going to color it on this page. And this is going to be the start of the 10 plagues. So it's super exciting. Very excited to start this with all of you. Now, if you remember how we ended this page, we said, let our people go. And Paro said, no, 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 I will not let them go. And now that we're moving on to a new page, like let's say this was a little book or like a packet. When you turn the page, we want to remind whoever's reading it that Paro said no, right? So we're going to remind that Paro said no, and Paro says no again over here. And then we're going to have Moshe and Aaron telling him, okay, well then we'll have to send 10 plagues. And they said, we'll turn this little rod into a snake, and we'll send 10 plagues. Okay, so we're going to start with drawing our people. And we're going to start off with Moshe and Aharon. Okay, so we'll make one circle for Aharon. And we have one circle for Moshe. Then we'll also have one circle for Paro. And I made Paro's circle a little bit higher to make it look like he's standing on something, maybe because he's king of Egypt. He's a leader of Egypt, so just to make him look more powerful, standing over Moshe and Aharon. And if you remember how we made the comic last time with Paro's weird little crown shape over here, we're going to do that same thing on this side, but this time he's going to be facing that way, so that he's facing Moshe and Aharon. You also want to make sure you remember how you drew Moshe and Aharon. So this is Moshe and this is Aharon for me, because Aharon's the one talking. So I'm going to try to draw the same type of people over here. So I'm going to draw Aharon as a bald guy with no beard. And I'm going to draw Moshe with a big beard and a kippah. Okay, so I'm going to start with Aharon over here. And we'll start with that circle like we did already. Then I'll just add in his eyes. He's going to be looking towards Paro. So we give him 2 dots on the side of his head facing Paro, going that way. And since he's talking and he's angry because Paro just said no, I'm going to make his mouth open and frowning. Like that. It's kind of like a D that's turned on its side. Like the straight part of the D is on the bottom, and like a D with a curve going across the top of it. And we can make his eyebrows now. And if you remember from last time, we said that the eyebrows really show the emotion. And if Paro just told you that your people could not be let out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, I think you'd be pretty angry. So like I said last week, whenever I draw a comic, I always try to make the face on my own, so I can like imagine what it would feel like and how I would look if I were in that situation. Okay, so you guys can make the face on your own as we draw these eyebrows. I'm gonna make like surprised and angry eyebrows. I got a little curving down and high up because he's surprised that he said no, and he's angry because they wanted to leave Mitzrayim to serve Hashem. Okay, now I'm just going to darken in the circle. Darken in so you can see where the circle is, and give him a little kippah on top. And I know that he probably did not wear a kippah because no one wore kippahs back then. But in the comics, I like to give all of my people of Bnei Israel kippahs, just so that they look Jewish. And for his body, like we did last week, whenever someone was just like barely in the frame, we could barely see their body. There's going to be a curve on this side going to the end of the box, and a curve on this side going to the end of the box. And if you have more room, you can obviously give him more of a body, and you can even draw his arm as well. His arm is kind of just like a little rectangle going down, but it's an open rectangle, so you don't see the top part of the rectangle. Or you can give him like a shoulder, like there's like a little curve on top. All up to you on how you want to draw Aharon. Now we're ready to move on to Moshe. And for Moshe, we're going to start with the same thing. We're going to start with his eyes, looking towards Paro. 2 dots for the eyes, looking towards Paro, so on the right side of his head. And now I'm going to give him his beard. Now I'm going to give him his beard. And his beard, like we did last week, is a big cloud on the bottom of his face. It's not really a cloud. Or is it? It's not a cloud. But you don't know, because I've never touched Moshe's beard. It could have just been a cloud. Okay, it probably was not a cloud. Oh well. All right, and now we can give him his eyebrows as well, just like we did for Aaron. And I think he'll be similar to Aaron, angry and surprised, with eyebrows high up and curved. And if you want, you can add a nose. But in my comics, I like to keep it very simple, just a mouth, eyes, and an eyebrow. Or not an eyebrow, eyebrows. And now I'll add in his kippa, top of his head, and darken in the circle going around his head. And if you look inside of his beard, I have his head going through his beard. Now, since his beard is not really a cloud, it's not see-through. So I'm gonna take my small eraser. I'm gonna erase inside of his beard, so you don't see that line like cutting through his beard. And then I can give him his mouth, which will be like upset, little curve going down into the side. And then we can add in his body. Again, it's two little curves. And his arm. Make a little curve for each side of his arm. And if you look at what I wrote over here, then our God will make this a snake and send 10 plagues. So this is referring to a staff. So we're gonna draw a staff kind of right over here, either in between them if you have space, or next to Moshe, wherever you want it to go. I think I have just enough room to put it right in between them. And for my staff, I'm going to make a line going up between them, a line, not too long of a line, just a little bit of a line. And then like a big curve on top of the line, kind of like a candy cane. And you can see I'm just thickening it a little bit, making it a little bit thick so that it looks like it's a staff. And if you didn't have room, you could put it next to them on the other side, or maybe you could put it like they're holding it across, like they're holding it like this, and it's going across the page, across the box. And now we can move on to Paro. Now Paro, I'll just keep this from the last time over here. And for Paro, we'll do the same thing we did last time, which we started off with like this little line where his forehead would go. Little curved line where his forehead would go. And then where his forehead stops, like where that line stops, we're just gonna make a curve going down and then to the side. So he goes down to the left and then down again. Okay. Kind of like a snake. Kind of like a snake goes down and to the side, like it goes back and forth. Then for the top of his head or top of his crown, we just go around the shape of a circle, come around the back, and then instead of coming all the way down, connecting back over there, we'll just go down towards where we drew that line before. And then we can connect it. Okay, and now just like we did in this drawing, we'll just add in some lines going across. And maybe little rectangle sticking out over here, like a little decoration. Then just like we made for Moshe and Aaron, we can make his face. Now I would also make him angry. So eyebrows going down, mouth open, and upset. And we're almost done with Paro. And I'm just going to add in his body a little bit. So I'll just add in a curve coming down from here and a curve coming down from here. And I'll give him an arm on this side. We don't see his other side because he's looking away from us. You can see I made him look a little bit taller than Moshe and Aharon to show that he is more powerful in Egypt. And now we're ready to move on to this next like mini box over here on the top. Over the top right here, there's a little mini box. That's going to be where the the staff turns into the snake. And for the staff turning into the snake, I'm going to start off with a rectangle. Rectangle because staffs are like rectangular. Like over here, it's a rectangle part. And then I'm going to draw a little line. And then from that line, I'm going to draw a snake coming out from the other end of that line, other end of that rectangle. Because watch this, guys. Now instead of a straight line, I want everyone to make really curvy lines to fill up the box and make it look like a snake. I'm just going to make random curves to fill up the box. Okay, so I'm just making curves coming from that rectangle to make this snake. I'll do the same thing for the other side, just following those curves like that. So you can make the snake shape, because snakes are all like wavy and they curve, and the way they move is very like curvy. And then we can make a little snake's head, like a little oval with maybe just 2 eyes on him. And even just like that, just like those with those 2 curves and a little face like that, 2 eyes, we could see the snake. And if you wanted to, you can even add like a little like star, a bunch of lines coming out right over here for like where it changes. There's a few triangles to make it look like a little star where it changes. Another detail if you want to add to make it look more like a snake is you can make the snake striped. I'm not sure you guys learned it in school, but another cool story about the snake is that Moshe and Aharon's snake, or their staff, actually swallowed the Egyptian magicians' snakes / staffs, because they were also able to make their staffs into a snake. But Moshe and Aaron swallowed theirs. Moshe and Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs. Okay, now we are ready to move on to the first plague, right? He says, Moshe and Aaron say we're going to send 10 plagues, and now we're up to the first plague. Here we go, guys. First plague, super exciting. We're going to start off with the plague of Dam, blood. Ew, blood. Okay, so for blood, we are actually going to be drawing the Nile River, because the Nile River was turned to blood. So it's going to look kind of similar, again, to this little background over here. We have the Nile. So we're going to start off, just like we did in that box over there, with a bunch of mountains in the background. And you don't want to draw over that box. Just a bunch of little curved little triangles. Like there's a few curved triangles in the background. And then what you want to do is just have like a squiggly line coming back and forth, starting all the way back there and then coming all the way over here, like this. Okay, just a bunch of little squiggles. Kind of looks like a beach, like there's water over here, like going on to like the sand over there. Because this is also how I make waves, like crashing on a beach, as it is. And now we're going to do the same thing, but this time on the other side. And one thing you want to try to do is, as this river is going further and further away from us, you want it to get thinner and thinner, because it's going to be further away from us. Kind of like we learned when we were talking about perspective. Okay, so over here it's going to be very close together, these 2 curves. And as it comes closer, it gets bigger and bigger. Like that, like really big, really wide, as it gets closer to us. And if you wanted to, you can add some dead fish in there. But I like to keep my drawings very simple, so I don't want to add in that detail. Also, I don't like dead fish. That's sad. And it smells. Dead fish stink. Okay, now we can move on to the next plague. Plague number 2. Here we go, guys. Svardea, which are frogs. Ribbit, 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 ribbit. So over here, we're gonna make some frogs. And for the frogs, I'm gonna make one really big one. I'm gonna try to make one really big one. And to start off, I'm going to make like the bottom of an oval, because I'm not gonna draw the top part of this oval, just the bottom part. Okay, like that. And you can see that I didn't connect it at the top. So you just have the curves going in, but then I stop. Stop. Wait a minute. That's all we're going for the oval. Because now we're going to add in the eyes. We want the eyes to be pretty big for the frog. So the eyes are gonna make 2 big curves going up, then down. Okay, so we're gonna look like this. Up, one big curve, kind of like the lowercase r for one side. Then I'll make another like lowercase r shape for the other side. Going like that. That's the frog's head shape. And now we can add in 2 little ovals inside there for the eyes. 2 ovals for the eyes. Wow, really big frog we're making over here. There's actually an opinion that for this plague, there was one big frog that came out, one big, huge frog. And then people kept whacking the frog. The Egyptians kept whacking it. And each time they whacked it, another frog came out from that big frog. Pretty crazy. All right, now for inside the eyes, we could draw in little dots. Little dots for the inside of the eyes. And then we could give him a nice big smile. If you want to keep, from that smile, you can give him a little tongue sticking out. I don't know why I said little. I give him a pretty big tongue because frogs have a huge tongue to catch all those flies. I'll just erase that little line that's going through his tongue, like that. And now for the body of the frog, we can just make a big oval, kind of like that, kind of coming from the bottom left side of the frog. Then for his little legs, we can make little 2 lines coming over here, 2 lines over there, maybe 2 lines on the other side of him. Then little circles for his hand. Now, if you want to, you can make him have like little webbed feet. Also the same thing on the bottom, 2 little lines for each leg, so that he could jump around. I'll just erase this so his legs are connected to his body. Okay, now we can move on to the next plague. Plague number 3. Plague number 3 is lice. Kinim. Oh my gosh, I'm itching already just talking about the lice. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And these lights are super, super tiny. So in this box, what we could do is just do little dots, little like ovals. All right, okay, guys, just make a bunch of little ovals. Kind of fill it with ovals, little teeny, teeny, tiny ovals all around wherever you want. Anywhere you want it. That's the way you can draw it. And then from those little ovals, I'm just gonna add little teeny tiny legs. Little lines coming out from those little ovals. Trying to do like 3 on each side. And some of these ovals I made too small for legs, but that's okay because that means it's just too small that you can't even see their legs. And when you color this in, I would actually color these in brown or black, up to you, all up to you because it's your comic. And I basically finished with those ovals. Now just to make it look like there are even more lights, because there were so many lights during this plague, I'm just gonna add in a whole bunch of little dots in the background. Okay, so I'm banging my pencil down onto this little square, make it look like there were little lights everywhere, filling the entire box up over here. I can make it look, and now it looks like there are a bunch of little bugs like everywhere. Oh my gosh, I hate bugs. Ew. Definitely would not have liked this plague. Well, I wouldn't have liked any of the plagues, but hey, I don't know. Maybe some people did like the lice. No, I wouldn't like the lice. Definitely. I don't think anyone would. All right, guys, we're going to have to continue just because we're running out of time, and I want to make sure we could finish the whole story over here. We're up to over here, wild animals. The wild animals, that's plague number 4. Wild animals, Arov. And for Arov, I'm gonna make a really big lion right in front. Because when I think of a wild animal, that's like the first thing that comes to mind, a really big lion. And for my line, I'm going to start with a circle. Start with a circle. And if you're not up to this step, if you're watching the recording, you can pause the recording. Or what you can do is you can just skip up to here and then go back to the other steps when you want to, or maybe spend more time on it later. Now, after we have this circle over here, we can add in a little nose for my line, or just give me a little triangle right in the middle of the circle. Maybe with a little mouth coming out. Now, for a lion's mouth, kind of like a cat's mouth, because it is a cat, I like to make a J coming from the bottom of my triangle. Watch this, a little J coming from the bottom to make his mouth. And for the other side of his mouth, I'm going to make a J, but this I'm going to flip it over. So I'm going to take this J, I'm going to flip it and draw this on the other side, just like this. There's like 2 J's coming from the bottom of the triangle. And then I'll do 2 dots for the eyes. 1, 2. And since these weren't such cute animals, they weren't like cute and cuddly animals, they were like scary animals that you wanted to run away from them, not give them a big hug. Right now it looks like I want to give this animal a big hug. I'm going to make this this lion very angry with some eyebrows going down. Make him look very scary, like a very scary tiger. Very scary lion. Why do I keep saying tiger? If you want, you could turn this into a tiger by just adding some little stripes all around him and on his body, which we didn't even do the body yet, but when we get up to the body, you can have that. And now for his mane, or for the hair that goes all the way around him, we could add in a bunch of triangles coming out from the sides. And for these triangles, I like to make them little curved, like little curved triangles going to the sides and falling down. I make them like sharp triangles, like this makes them look really scary. By sharp, I mean the edges are really pointy. And there is my wild animal right over there. And if you wanted to, you could even add maybe another one in the background, way over here. Or you got a palm tree, or you got the desert in the background. If we have time, maybe I'll add in something else. But for now, let's move on to the next plague. Here we go. Now we're up to plague number 5. Oh my gosh, we are flying through this. Now we're up to Dever, or pestilence, or basically what it means is where all of the cattle, all the Egyptian cattle died from this plague. And over here, what you can draw is you can draw either like a cow or a sheep or some kind of cattle. And I'm going to draw them upside down to make them look like he's dead because they all died. All of the sheep and all the cows died. So whenever I draw something upside down, I actually turn the whole page over. Whoa. And the reason I do this is because it just makes it so much easier. Because when you're drawing something upside down, like you have to think about, oh, well, how would it look if I turned it upside down? So instead of just turning something upside down or thinking about it, just turn the whole page upside down. It makes it so much easier. So I'm just going to draw a sheep. And for a sheep, I start with a cloud. I start with a cloud shape, and I'll put it towards the top of my drawing when I'm looking at it from the bottom. So it's on the bottom of my drawing. And then I'll give my sheep a little oval for its head. Maybe 2 little ears attached to it. And for his legs, or her legs, I just do rectangles going up. 1 and 2. And if you want, you can add in another sheep. You want another sheep right over here in the background. I'll just add another cloud. But this time I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because it's closer to me, which means it's further away in the actual drawing when you flip it over. I'll add a little head and 2 little legs coming up. All right, guys, I think it's time to turn our drawing back around. Turn the beat around. And now we can see, oh, look at that, guys. We have 2 sheep that are upside down. So guys, wasn't that cool? What a good idea to turn it around. You guys can remember that whenever you're drawing something upside down or maybe on the side, you can always turn it the page any way you want to make it look a little bit, to make it easier for you. Now for the background, we'll just add in maybe little mountains in the back, like we did in the first plague. And on their faces, I was going to draw 2 little X's. Whenever something is dead in comics or not alive anymore, they usually give them 2 little X's to show that they're not alive, or you can just give them closed eyes. But X's are like a cool thing that comics do, just to make it very clear. And now we're up to the 6th plague. Oh my gosh, so many plagues. Now we're up to the 6th plague, which is Shchin, boils. All right, now guys, this one is also what I wouldn't want, because who would want boils over their skin? Oh, that's disgusting. It's like acne, but worse. It's actually way worse than acne. So, well, you guys probably don't even have to worry about acne yet. Don't worry about it. It'll come. Okay, so for boils, what I'm going to do over here, either you could draw like a full person, I get them boils all over their body. But what I like to do is I like to draw a hand. So I'm going to draw a hand right over here. For my hand, I'm going to start with 2 lines coming over here from the side. And as they come, they're going to get closer and closer, like that. Okay, 2 lines for my hand, like an arm. I'll show you guys my arm. My arm, as it's going out, it's getting narrower and narrower as it goes, right? Until my wrist. Then my wrist is big, and there's my hand. Okay, so over here, I just have these two lines for the sides of the arm. And then for my fingers, you can either give them a circle like this, make it very simple, a circle, or if you wanted to try to make a hand. This is very hard, guys, so only this if you really, really want to try, is you can start off with a circle kind of like this, like a small circle. Then instead of, like, imagine that circle is this part over here, like right where my palm is, back side of my palm. Then from that circle, we could add in little curves for the little fingers, right? Little fingers, then a smaller curve for the thumb. We'll make little curves. 1, 2, 3, 4, then a small one for the thumb. And there's my hand. You can see it's a little cartoony still, because I like cartoons. This is a cartoon, this is a comic strip. So it should be really simple. So we're not adding any fingernails or knuckles or anything, especially because we want the focus of this drawing to be on the boils. So I'm just going to erase that little circle we did to help us out with drawing the hand. Erase those little circles. Circle curves right there. And then I'm just going to add in a bunch of little ovals and circles and different shapes on the hand to make it look like there are boils everywhere on the hand. Oh my gosh, this looks like it hurts so much. Oh my gosh, guys. I do not want to have boils. And you can even have some like popping out of this hand. Oh my gosh, ew. Ew, these are huge. Boils all over the hand. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm happy to be done with that one because I do not like boils. I don't even like drawing boils or lice. All right, now guys, we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. We are up to the 7th plague. Hail, Barad. Here we go, guys. And this one is, I think, my favorite one to draw because in this one, we have these huge, like, hail, like big blocks of ice with fire in it. The fire, it's so cool. All right, guys, for this plague, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a, like, circular, like, rock shape, like a rounded out rock shape. Well, I'm just going to, right here, right in the middle. Instead of making a circle, I'm going to make, like, jaggedy lines, like this, like a rock. It's going to be like my block of ice. Because it's kind of like a circle. Instead of like a curves for the circle, it's a bunch of like little lines going all over the place for the ice. Ice. Okay, that's gonna be the ice. Now inside of the ice there is fire. Ooh, fire in ice. How does that even work? It is crazy. And in here we're just gonna add in the fire. So the fire, we're gonna start with a little curve for the bottom of the fire. Little curve. Then from that curve, we're gonna have to draw in like little smaller curves. Okay, so if you remember from the burning bush, we had like a curve for the bottom. We had a bunch of like small curved like little triangles on top, like curvy triangles for the top. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. Add in some curves going towards the back of our little thing of ice. And I made all my curves going that way because it looks like this block of ice with the fire was coming from that corner of the box. So I'll just add in a few lines going towards that direction. I can see that these lines are pretty big because I want to make it look like it's like flying. It's like shooting through the sky. It's going so fast. And if you have room, guys, you can even add in another one. I'll just add another one right over here. I'll add in more fire. Oh my gosh, so much fire. And I'll add in more lines over here and make it look like it's also falling from the sky. And maybe I'll add another one over here. Guys, as many as you can fit, you can just keep adding them. And maybe I'll add another one over here, maybe. Oh my gosh, so many. And in the background, if you want, you can even add in some mountains in the background, maybe like this. Or you could add in maybe some clouds in the sky. So much you can add in over here to make it look really crazy. Wow, that's my favorite scene. I think in the whole Pesach story. I think it's so cool. I think it is my favorite. All right, now for this last box right over here, we can just add in Paro's heart because what Hashem does is Hashem hardens Paro's heart so that Paro would not send away the Bnei Yisrael, wouldn't send away the Jews. So over here, I'm going to draw Paro's heart. For a heart, I start off with a triangle shape, upside down triangle without a top. Not upside down, just a triangle that looks like a V kind of. And then for the top of the triangle, I'm going to try to make a B, like not a B like a B, but a B like the letter B. And the reason I say this is because for this part, I want you guys to make the curves of a capital B. Watch this, guys, just like this, as if the B is facing up. Like this, big curve here for like one side of the B, another curve here for the other side. Okay, and like if you turned it, if you looked at it, added a line right over here, then it would be a B. And over here would be a triangle. And that's how I make my hearts. Very easy way to make it. And to make it look like Hashem hardened the heart, like really hardened it, just gonna add in some little cracks. Because his heart is starting to crack, but Hashem hardened it so that it wouldn't crack. Just a few little zigzag lines here and there and everywhere. And since we have a tiny bit more time, we could just try to add in a background over here. I'll start off by trying to fit in one more animal, just a little circle behind my lion, just to fit in maybe a little elephant. Two little curves for the trunk, and really big ears. For my elephant in the background, and I'll just add in a background for the mountains. And one last thing, quickly, guys, is I like to add in the end of the comic just maybe some clouds. So just add in some clouds. For a cloud, to start with a straight line, and then on the top, make a random shapes, random shapes, straight line, then random curvy shapes on top, just like that. And there we have the second part of the Pesach story. The Pesach story, we started off over here with this page, which came out really cool. And then we continued on to this page where we did the first 7 of the 10 makot, 10 plagues. And I think it came out really cool. And now what we'll be doing next is we'll move on to the next page where we're going to be finishing up the makot and then moving on to the next parts of the story. All right, guys, I'll switch the camera back to me so you can see me. So there we go. We just finished the second page of the Pesach story, Parshat Vayera. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think this is one of the most exciting Parsha comics so far. Last week and this week, I think are just the best ones by far. They're just so exciting. So much going on. The 10 plagues. There's so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you guys finish up your own comic. Look at this. We still have this blank one. You guys have a whole comic you guys get to do on your own. So excited to see what you guys come up with. You guys can come up with any story you want. It could be any topic. It doesn't have to be Parsha. It could be anything that you can think of. And I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with. All right, guys, I really have to run, but I hope you guys enjoy this class. Definitely, guys, I encourage you to color in the comic. If you color it in, you can go over it with pen and make it look really, really cool. I know I went a little bit fast this time, so you can watch the recording and go back and pause and redo some stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do color it in, you can send it to me. You can email it to me, art@andidrew.com. My email is art@andidrew.com. And if you email it to me, I can share it to Instagram or post it on my website. I have a student gallery on my website. Or guys, if you or your parents share it to Facebook or Instagram and tag me, then you get a free drawing class recording. Okay, so that's something to look out for. So you guys want to make sure you color it in, then you can get your parents to post it onto Facebook or Instagram and tag me, and then you guys get a whole new class for you guys to do on your own. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have an incredible week and an incredible Shabbos. All right, bye, guys. Thank you so much and enjoy. Right now, we are going to be moving on to the third page of the Pesach comic series. Here I have the third page of the comic story for Pesach. And over here, we have the first plague, right? Over here, we have the first plague of this comic strip, which is locusts. Locusts are a little bit disgusting. They're like little animals, little insects, and they fly around and they ate all of the agriculture, all of the food, all of the fields of greenery of Egypt. Okay, so now for this box over here, we're gonna draw one like pretty big locust and like different ones in the background. We're gonna start with this really big one so everyone can draw it with me, or if you want, you can draw it on your own. Again, totally up to you. And we can start with just a big oval, like the main part of the locust's body. Big oval for the body of the locusts. And that's kind of just the main part of it. And then the other part of it, kind of like the abdomen, like the middle area of the locust. If you know insects, they kind of have like 3 parts. I'm just gonna make those 3 parts right now. So attach that oval. We're gonna make like a little circle. Kind of attached to it. Kind of looks like a weird, I don't know, like a circle connected to the oval. Kind of looks like a, I don't know, weird shape. And then we can add in the head. Now the head isn't gonna quite be a circle. So it's kind of gonna be like a circle that's kind of narrow at the bottom. Okay, so watch this, guys. Watch how I do this. A little bit of a weird shape. We start with a circle shape, but then when you come down around to connect it back, we're actually make it get narrow towards the bottom. Kind of like that, like a weird shape. A weird shape like that. If you want, you can make it closer to the circle, overlapping with the circle. Make it closer so that it doesn't have such a long neck. All up to you. That's the main part of the body. Now we can add on to the details. Over on the details, I actually want to move my head a little bit further down. So I'm just going to erase this head. I'm just going to redraw it a little bit closer to the circle just because I don't know, I felt like it. There. And it's also a better depiction of the shape, a little bit clearer. Kind of like a triangular shape, but it's a little bit rounded along the top. And we can also erase that little curve that's going inside of the circle we drew before, because the bodies aren't really see-through, at least from what I know. So we only need one of them. I'll darken my lines for you so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go, just like that. And now let's add in some details. One detail I want to start with are the wings, because the wings are the main part of the locust. So I'm going to have two wings. I'm going to have one wing is going to be kind of like a leaf coming out from right where the circle is. Up, went right off of the box. You don't want to draw outside the box like I just did right over there. So I'm just going to erase that. Sometimes I get carried away with my drawings and draw outside the box by accident. But usually I try to keep it inside the box. Unless you want to think outside the box and draw outside the box. I'm not sure how that would work in between the drawings. So now I'm just going to add in another like leaf shape just for another wing. Right over to make it look like it's flying. One wing like to the side and one wing further up. Make it look like it's flying like at a diagonal, going that way, just like the oval that I made for the first shape looks. Okay, now we can add in some more details. Maybe we want to add in, maybe some eyes. We'll just add in two little eyes right inside of the face. Two little dots for the eyes. Maybe we can add in some antenna next. For the antennas, I just do two curves coming up. 1, 2. And if you want, you can even give him like some kind of mouth, or her, some kind of mouth. For the mouth, what I like to do is make it look like really scary, kind of like little like claws, like going open and shut, like that's just eating away all the leaves. So I'm gonna do over here, I'm gonna make a semicircle for one side. I'll hold it up so you can see, like a very, very small semicircle, like half of a circle, very, very small. And I'll do the same thing for the other side. Okay, so now it looks like an open semicircle. It's like a semicircle. It was like a circle that was split into two. Like a semicircle was split into two. It kind of just like opened up a little bit for the mouth. Okay, now if we want to, we can add in some legs. For the legs, I'll just, I'll add in some little lines coming down from over here. 1, 2, and another one over here. There's a few legs coming down. If you want, you can even add in like a really big leg, like just hanging down like that. This really big like triangle basically. For another leg hanging out the back. Really all up to you and how you want to do it, because locusts, just like a lot of things that we draw, come in all different shapes and sizes. They're all different kinds of bugs and locusts, and really however you draw it is going to look incredible. Especially because your cartoon doesn't necessarily have to look like real life. They could just look more like a cartoon. That's what I like my cartoons to look like. I like mine to look like cartoons. Okay, now for the background, we could just add in a whole bunch of little teeny tiny locusts flying all over the place. Okay, so I'm just gonna remake my locust with the same steps, but this time make it really, really small. Okay, so same steps. This time it's so small that I don't really have to add in any details because it's so far away. And now when I add another one, make it even smaller. I'll make it all the way over here. It's gonna be so small that I could barely even see it. Right, guys, are super, super small. And you basically just want to add in as many as you can fit, just all over the place. Keep making them small, some big, some most small though, because you really just want to make it look like they're everywhere. Okay, so just adding in a whole bunch of steps. And if this is difficult for you, you can just rewind the recording 15 seconds if you're watching the recording. If you're watching this live, and what you could do is you can just hold off and wait for the recording to come out and just fill in after, or you can just finish coloring, you can just finish adding in all the different locusts after. And easiest thing for the recording, just rewind or press pause as you add in all of these different locusts in the background. Okay, so I just added in a whole bunch of them. You can see some of them don't even look like locusts, or it just looks like a few scribbles. But now just to add in maybe a few details over here, just add in maybe a few like dots in the background. Just like little dots, little dots just in the background to make it look like there's some that are so small that they only look like dots to us because they're so far away. So far, they only look like dots to us. And just filling the sky. Okay. There we go. Wow, that is quite the first box for this strip right here. In the second box of this strip right here is darkness. Choshech, the ninth makah, the ninth plague. Wow. All right, almost done with all the plague. That's crazy. For this one, darkness, I think you guys might have seen this coming, but basically we're just going to be filling up this entire box with pencil or pen or dark, whatever really you want. One thing I like to add before we do that, just make some eyes. Just going to make an eye or two. I mean, two eyes right here. Start with a circle to make my eyes. One circle. Then attach that circle, I'm going to make another circle. Another circle like that. And I'm going to have them looking, I don't know, you can make them looking wherever you want. I'm going to make them looking up. These eyes looking up. Right? Two eyes looking up. And since we're going to fill the rest of it with dark, we don't really need to add any more details to that because we won't even be able to see their face. Just going to add another eye, pair of eyes right over here. So again, two circles. It kind of looks like an 8, right? These kind of look like 8s if you turn them to the side. So if you want, you can make 8s and then just add little dots in them. And you're kind of looking at each other. And if you wanted to, you could add like a speech bubble or a thought bubble saying like, who turned off the lights? Or, hey, I can't see. Or where's my nightlight? Or who turned off the sun? So many jokes that you can make over here. So you guys can decide what you wanted to do. I'm not going to add any because I don't want to like impede or take away from your creativity. So you guys can come up with whatever jokes you want. There's so many jokes you could put over here. And then the last step for this box is to fill the background in with gray or black or anything. If you're going to be coloring in this comic, which I highly recommend you do, everyone should color in the comics. Since we're not coloring in this class or in this recording, I'm just going to fill in with gray for now. Then afterwards, you guys can color it in. Okay, so if you plan on coloring it in, I would use like a black crayon or a black colored pencil and just fill in the whole background to make it look really, really dark. Or you can use gray, different gray colors. And you can see I'm just trying to fill it in. You can see that when I fill things in, I kind of just trace over the same strokes. Okay, so I'm keep going the same direction. Just going diagonal lines all the way, filling the box. Okay. And you can see right there, it already looks like it's filled with gray, filled with dark for the plague of darkness. And just the eyes are white. Okay, if you're not done with that, you could press pause on the recording, or you can hold off until after. And now we are going to move on to the third box of this page. And in this box, we have the special Pesach offering. We have the Korban Pesach, which Bnei Israel, the Jews, gave, which was made of matzah, maror, and a lamb. Okay, so over here we're going to make, I'll start off maybe with the easy one. Maybe we'll start off with matzah. So for matzah, you can make either a circle or a rectangle. I'm going to make a big circle right over here. for my matzah. Big circle for my matzah. Then inside that circle, to make it look like matzah instead of just a circle, I'm just gonna add in a bunch of dots. I'm gonna take my pencil and just putting a bunch of dots inside of the matzah. Might be able to hear my pencil making this really loud sound as it bangs against the paper, adding in a whole bunch of dots inside of my circle. Here, I'll hold up so you could see. There is my matzah. Now we are ready to move on to, after matzah, we have maror. I was going to add in some maror. It kind of looks like a really big carrot. I was going to make my carrot right over here. I'm going to start with a little curve to the top of my carrot, and then a much smaller curve for the bottom of my carrot. I'll put my bottom of my carrot right over here. And by carrot, I mean maror. It just looks like a carrot, so I called it a carrot. Just have a big curve for the top of the carrot, or I'm having it going across. So I'm gonna have my top of my carrot right over here. It's gonna be wide. Then the bottom of my carrot's gonna be very, I keep calling it carrot, but the bottom of my maror is gonna be very small because it kind of gets narrower and narrower as it goes down into the ground. Then I'm just going to connect them with lines like that. And that's going to be my maror, like the actual part that you eat. And maror is white, unlike a carrot. And then we could just add in, kind of like a carrot, some little leaves up here. For the leaves, just add in like a few triangles. A few triangles just coming out from the top of the carrot. Like that, kind of just going back and forth, a few triangles, just going around the top. And if you want to, you can even add some lines like on the inside of the maror, like this, little curves, to make it look more like maror instead of just like a big triangle shape. Maror is spicy. Whenever I have it, I always have like a way too big of a piece, and my head feels like it's going to explode. It's so spicy, so hot. It's like my mouth's on fire whenever I eat it. Careful not to eat too much. Okay, now we're up to the last part of the Korban Pesach, the Pesach offering, and that is the lamb. Okay, so we're gonna make a big piece of meat over here. And for that, it's kind of a weird shape because meat comes in all different shapes and sizes, like a lot of things that we draw. So I'm just gonna make like a squiggly line. Squiggly line. You guys can choose how big you want the squiggle to be. And then I'm going to kind of watch the shape, guys. This shape's a little bit hard. It's kind of like a bean shape. Kind of like a bean shape. Watch how I'm gonna make this. Okay, I'm gonna curve this back around. Kind of like a bean, like Mr. Potato Head. I'm gonna curve it back in and then out. Okay, just like that. So a really big kind of bean shape where it goes like in the middle. Or you guys can just make like an oval shape. I'll show you guys another shape you could do. I like that shape, but I just want to show you guys a different version if you want. If you want to just make like a big oval, but the oval, just make it like narrower at one end. Kind of like that. Okay, so it's up to you and how you want to do it, but it kind of could be any shape you want. And then we can just add in like a little circle for the bone of the meat. And maybe just a few little like splotches here and there, just like going down the middle, little zigzag line, maybe like an outside line, maybe some little veins. I don't know, guys. You can decide what you want to include in your little piece of meat and kind of just added random things. And then when you color it in, you could color in like reddish brown with like white for the bone and white for like the outside. Just make it look like however you want it. In this last box in this row, we have Bnei Israel, the Jews, putting blood on their doorposts, so Hashem will pass over them for the last plague, which is, spoiler alert, Makat Bechoro, death of the firstborn for the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians. So over here, we're going to be making a door right in the middle, with blood along the doorpost. Okay, so To start off, let's go ahead and make a door. Now for the door, we can just make a really big rectangle. Nice big rectangle right in the middle. Just like that. Nice big rectangle in the middle of my box. And that's going to be for my door, right? Because we have to put the blood around the door for the door post. And if you want to, you can even draw the door post. For the door post, I'm going to kind of just add in some like wooden planks going around on my door. Okay, so for the top, I'll have a nice big rectangle going across, kind of like that. Just going across the top. Doorposts are just like little wooden posts, wooden boards that are kind of holding the door in place. And I'll just have another two rectangles, one for each side. Okay, so then it's kind of like a frame, like a picture frame going around a door. Around the door. And then we can add in a little doorknob, little circle for the doorknob right there. And before we do the blood going on the doorpost, we can add in maybe a window here or there, just to make it look more like a house. So I'm gonna add in a rectangle or a square next to my door on each side. Make it look like a house. And now I think we're ready for the blood. Now the blood is gonna be dripping down. So you could kind of just make it like, I don't know, wavy lines going all over the place, just like this, just like filling in the wood. I'll hold up my drawing in just a second. Here you go, you guys can see, kind of just having the kind of wavy lines, just wavy lines going back and forth, all around the doorpost. Okay, then when you color this in, you want to make sure you color it in red for the blood. And I feel like I add more details to the house, but like I say, in all of my comic classes, I like to keep things simple because it's a cartoon. It's not supposed to be a real realistic drawing. It's just a cartoon. We are finally up to the final plague. And in this final plague, this final makat, makat bechorot, death of the firstborn. Wow, that is crazy. That's a crazy plague, and that's the plague that Paro was like, no way, get out of here, right before he was killed because he was a firstborn. So in this box, we can just make, well, if you want, you could choose what you want to make. Maybe you want to make like a mummy. Maybe you want to make like, I don't know, people crying. It's a very sad plague. So you can choose what you want to do. But for me, I'm going to make like a tombstone. Okay, tombstone is like that, like a gravestone, something that they put next to the grave. Okay, so I'm going to make my tombstone. I'm going to start off with a line. This line is going to be for the line on the ground. Start off with a straight line along the bottom, not filling the whole width of the box, but just a little bit for this tombstone. And then I'm going to make another two lines going up as if I'm making like a square or like a rectangle. Okay, like that, two lines going up. But don't draw a line going across the top just yet, because we're actually not going to be doing a line going across the top. Instead, we're going to be making a curve going across the top. So watch this, guys, just make a really big curve, like a semicircle going across the top. Just like that, connecting the two sides of that like rectangle shape we had before. Okay, now maybe I'll add in another one in the background to make it look like there's so many of them. So I'm gonna add another one, and this time it's gonna be a little bit smaller because it's further back. Make a little line coming from behind, and since it's behind it, this one's gonna be blocking it just a little bit. Okay, so again, we won't be able to see this side. of the second one, but there I'll have a little line going up. And again, that little curve for the top. And maybe you want to add in another one, like all the way back here. Again, starting off with a little line, then another line, then a curve for the top. And it's all up to you. You can choose how many you want to add. I'm just going to add as many as I can fit, just way in the background. One there, one there. And you'll notice that as I'm drawing the ones in the background, I'm just making them smaller and smaller. You can write whatever you want on the tombstone. Maybe you want to write what I'm going to write. I'm going to write R.I.P. for rest in peace. But if you want, you could add in something else, maybe like bro number 1 or firstborn, or I don't know, whatever comes to you. And maybe I'll just add in just a few little lines at the bottom, just like to make it look like there are words there. Again, just adding in little details on the comic. And if you have room for a background, I'm just going to add in a few little hills in the background, just like little mountains in the background, so we can tell where the sky starts. The sky starts way back there. And then maybe just to make this look like sand, or like, not sand, either sand or ground, let's add in just a few little, like, I don't know, some little weeds, little pieces of grass maybe, sticking up to make it look like it's on the ground. And again, if you guys don't like this, you guys can draw whatever you want in that comic. Again, so many different options for what you can draw in this little box right here, but that's all up to you. And this box, Paro finally has enough. Paro's like, oh my gosh, get out of here, leave, we don't want you here anymore. Get out. So he's yelling, get out in that speech bubble. And since that speech bubble is pointing this way, that means that we are going to be having Paro's head right over here. And then we'll start Paro's head off with a circle, just like we did on the other pages. Just a circle right there for Paro's head. That's not the end of Paro's head, that's just how we start Paro's head. Just very basic shapes. That's how we start all people in this comic. And now we can start adding in the details for his kind of crown. Okay, so if you remembered from the first page, what we did was we had this little line like coming in for his crown. Okay, so we're just gonna do the same thing over here. So like right where his forehead is, we're gonna have a little like half line, like a line going halfway through his forehead and curving down. I'll show you guys how to do that right now. I have a line curving inside from right where his forehead is, just inside, just a bit, not all the way, just halfway. That's going to be for part of his crown. And then it's going to kind of curve down. Watch this, guys, very important curve, kind of like an S. It's going down and then out. Okay, just like that, kind of down and then out. Okay, kind of right when it gets to like the bottom of his head, it kind of just curves going towards the outside of the head. Okay, now we'll do the other side of his crown. And for that, we're going to start by just going around the circle. So from this right here, right outside of his head, it's going to go around the circle till about there. And at that point, here, I'll show you guys over here again. We're going to keep curving it, but this time we're going to curve it going down, 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 down. Then we're going to curve it down across and connect it back to the other line we just drew before. Okay, so watch, it's just going to be curving down, following the circle, following the circle. Instead of connecting it back, like following the circle all the way, I'm now going to curve it down like that, and then connect it. Okay, just like that to make his crown. It's a really cool crown, I must say, but it's a little bit hard to draw. So make sure you take your time with the curves. Make sure you like it. Make sure you use a pencil. So that way, if you make mistakes, you could always erase it or redo it. And then we'll move on to, well, now we'll be able to move on to his face. So his face, just a little darkening the circle here so you could see. Inside his face, we'll just have 2 eyes. If you could fit 2 eyes, I just barely have room. Since he's looking that way, since his face is looking that way, his eyes are just on, like right on the edge of his face. Right on the edge of his face. Then just like we did over here, actually very similar, have his eyebrows pointing down. Eyebrows pointing down because he's really mad. He's like, get out of here. And have his eyebrows pointing down, very, very angry. Like, leave already. And I'll have his mouth wide open and angry. So for a wide open and angry mouth, I just kind of a curve going down. I'll hold it up so you can see it. Curve going down, and then a curve going across to connect it. Hold it up so you can see it again. Okay, kind of like a sideways, upside down D, the letter D. If you turn like this, it kind of looks like a D. Okay, whatever. And now we can just erase this little circle that's inside of his crown, because we can't see that because the crown is covering his circular head. And now we can add in some details to his crown and to his face, to his body. So for his crown, if you notice in the first page, what we did was by a little like piece sticking out, kind of like decoration. Just gonna add that same piece right here, the little rectangle sticking out from the front. Then we also had just some curves, just like going across, like little stripes. So I'll just add in a few stripes going across for more like decoration on his really cool crown. It is a pretty cool crown, but I don't want to be Paro. Paro just got 10 plagues. Like it's not a good place to be. Okay, now we're up to his body. And now his body, I'm gonna make him with his finger like this, like get out of here, like go, go, go. I will let you go. See what I did there? It's like no, 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 I will not let them go, but it says go, go, go. Okay, bad joke. Now we're going to add in his body, and for that, what we're going to do kind of like a rectangle going up the diagonal line. Watch this, guys. Diagonal line like that. And then this side will just have a line coming down for his sleeve and coming back in, right under there. And if you want, you could even give him a little shoulder from behind his crown to make it look like it's all connected, going behind his crown or in front of his crown. And then we can add in his hand and then the rest of his body, like his shoulders and everything. So for his hand, I'm going to make a little like oval shape sticking out, very thin for his finger. His finger is sticking out, right? So if you look at my finger sticking out, I have one finger going out, then the rest is kind of just like a circle coming in, right? Circle coming in. If you look back to our comic, you'll remember that we have been doing circle hands, keeping it very simple. Here, though, we're gonna have one oval coming out like that, and the rest of it will be kind of just like a oval / circle. Saying, get out of here. And then lastly, for his body, you can just add in 2 curves, one for each side. One curve over here, one curve right over there. Okay, now we have so much space. Oh my gosh, guys, look how much space we have in this box that we get to fill in with drawing. I'm going to add in now some hills in the background, and that's going to be for the desert and Mitzrayim / Egypt as well. Then we'll add in the Jewish people, Israel, walking along the. So I'm just going to start by adding some little hills. Okay, some little curved hills. Okay, if we look back at our first box, see we had similar hills over here. There's little rounded out triangles. Okay, little rounded out triangles going up and down. Just like that. And that's just for the backgrounds. Now we know that the sky is up there and the ground / desert is down here. And I want to show like a trail of people just walking out, just leaving Mitzrayim, Yetziat Mitzrayim, walking out of Egypt. So for that, since they're super far away, we're just gonna be making really tiny, like little ants, basically, kind of like we did over here, like little tiny ants. It's like teeny little oval, super small, And on top of that oval, like a teeny tiny circle for the head. Oh my god, it's so small. It looks like a teeny tiny ant. It looks like an ant just walked on my paper. I just want to add in so many of them because they were a lot of people. And as they get further away, they're gonna get smaller and smaller. You're gonna say, Andrew, I can't even draw smaller than that. Well, you should try. Just draw super, super small. Oh my gosh, they're so tiny. So tiny, just like little dots now. Oh my gosh, they're so tiny. Wow, look at that, guys. Just adding in some people, both sides, adding more people over here as well. Again, starting with a little oval with a circle on top, and then just getting smaller and smaller as we go off into the distance as they're walking out. All right, guys, that looks pretty cool. Wow, just leaving Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt. And if you want, you can even add in a little cloud in the sky. Since we have so much room, so much space, add in a cloud right here. For the cloud, I like to do a straight line going across, then a bunch of random curves on top. Okay, and now we have the last and final box of this page. And over here, we have that Bnei Israel, the Jews, left so quickly that their bread did not have time to rise. So what were they left with? They were left with matzah, crunchy matzah. So over here, we're going to add in some matzah. You can choose if you want to do square matzah, rectangular matzah, circular matzah, oval matzah, triangle matzah. No one has triangle matzah. Triangle matzah if you want. I mean, I've never seen triangle matzah. Maybe you want to draw a triangle matzah. I'm just going to draw some circle matzahs. Start with one big circle matzah right over here. Tracing over my circle a few times. And just like we did up here for the Korban Pesach, for the Pesach offering, I'm going to add in a whole bunch of little dots inside of my circle. A little hard to see on camera. You can see my pencil just going up and down as I add in a whole bunch of dots for this first matzah. Darken in my line so you can see. Adding in a whole bunch of little dots inside of my matzah. And then I'll do the same thing for my second matzah. The second matzah, though, is going to be behind the first one. So this is behind the first one. The first one's going to be blocking it just a little bit. So it's going to be drawing this circle. This time it's going to be blocked a little bit by the first matzah. I'm just going to fill this page with a few matzahs. Adding in some matzah right there. Again, filling it with dots. Then maybe I'll add in one more matzah just right along the side over here. Just finishing off with 3. Because we have 3 at the Seder. We have 3 matzahs. 1 for Cohen, 1 for Levi, 1 for Israel. So I guess I'll just do 3 right over here just to show, kind of like at the Seder, there were 3. But definitely they had more matzahs way back then because they had so many people. Like 3 matzahs wouldn't feed all of them. Those are like giant matzahs, like the world's largest matzah. That'd be crazy. I would need like a miracle. And now we're ready to move on to the next page of the comic story where we're going to be doing Yetziat Mitzrayim, where Paro follows the Jews into the sea and he gets swallowed up by the ocean. So ready to move on to there, and make sure you have that all ready and all set to go. Now we are up to the last comic strip of the Pesach story. So in this box right here, we'll start with Paro having this little speech bubble. I mean, this thought bubble or thought cloud right over there. To start drawing Paro's face, we should be pretty familiar with it because we've done it a few times already. But it starts off with a circle. There's a circle. You can see I'm drawing it very lightly because I'm going to be adding in the crown around it, like we just saw on the other page of the comic. And for the crown, it'll start off with a little line coming in right around where the forehead is. Little line coming in. And then I will have this line kind of just continue going around and around and around and around and around and around, and around the head, and it'll curve down. Okay, so it's basically a really big question mark. Like that's when it's going around and it curves down. Like a flipped question mark if you think about it. Then we can just do the other side of the curve, which is a curve going down and then out, because it's basically just following that same curve. Now I can add those little decorations, those little like lines, those little stripes going across. And then I can also just darken in his face, the front of the face. And I'm going to make him a little bit confused. So I'm going to draw 2 dots for the eyes, 2 small dots for the eyes. I'm going to have 1 eyebrow down. What I would say when I draw a confused face is that the eyebrows are also confused. They're like, are we up? Are we down? What's going on? So one eyebrow is up and the other one's down because they're just confused. So 1 eyebrow up, 1 eyebrow down for my confused Paro face. And I'll also just give him like a small little oval, really small oval for his mouth. And we can also add in his body. His body, since we could barely see because it's just at the bottom, right at the edge of the box of this frame, I'm just gonna add 2 curves, one on the left and one on the right. Very small, very subtle, barely even see it. And then one last detail I like to add in for his crown. There's like little decoration, like little things are sticking out at the top. Just adding a little like rectangle sticking out at the top of his crown. Now for the background, we want to make it look pretty empty. Maybe you want to add in maybe something that's half built. So I'm going to add in just some mountains, some hills in the background. I'm going to do some rounded out triangle shapes like we've been doing the other pages. Rounded out triangle shapes. And then maybe like in this little like desert area over here, I'll just add in either the Jews did not build the pyramids, most likely, but if you want, you could add like a half finished pyramid, or you could just add in like a wall, like a little rectangle, and then you can add in like just some more rectangles on top, but don't make it look like it's full. So just like this. So make it look like this part's not finished on the side. You're just having maybe some more bricks like laying around on the side to make it look like it's not even done yet. Maybe some little like scrap, like little like dots around it, just to make it look like it's really not done. And you can add some more details if you want. Maybe some stripes going across. Make it look more like a building. But the main thing is that you don't want to make it look finished. So just add in some like bricks on the side or maybe some like little cracks or lines on the inside. Make it look like it's still not done. Okay, now ready to move on to the next box. And this box is a really exciting box because Paro is now like, get them, like chase after them, let's follow them, let's capture them, let's bring them back to finish building my cities. Okay, and over here, we could either have Paro. There are a few different options for what you can draw. I'm going to do it one way, but you're more than welcome to do the other way. I'm going to have Paro basically very small and a bunch of his soldiers all around him, like running after the Jews who will be right over there, right by the Yam Suf, right by the sea. Okay, or if you want, you could just kind of do like we did on the previous page, where you have like Paro really big, and his finger will be pointing, saying "get them," like pointing at the Jews. But since I don't want to repeat the same box, I don't want to repeat the same like type of thing as I did in the previous page. I'm just going to make Paro really small and make it look like there's a bunch of people around him. For that, I'm going to make a small head. See, a very small head. You can barely even see like how small it is, and we'll definitely barely be able to see like his facial expression. So very small everything. So I'm going to make a really small crown, like we just did. See, super small crown right over there. Like you could barely, that's just to show that who he is, but it's like super, 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 super tiny. And we know that they chase after, the Egyptians chased after Bnei Israel, the Jews, on chariots and horses. So if you want, you could add in a horse pulling Paro on a chariot. But I think it'll look cooler in the comic to have him running, like running forward. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a stick figure. And I know what you're saying, Andrew, a stick figure, we never draw stick figures. And the reason I'm drawing a stick figure is actually something I taught in a different Parsha comic workshop where I talked about different motions and how to draw like different people's like bodies and different poses that people would do. And I always start, whenever I'm doing like a complicated pose, by just drawing a stick figure like that. Okay, just a very simple stick figure of the back going like a bit of a diagonal line because he's running, the legs coming out from each side, and his arms, like one going up like that and one going to his back. And the reason I start with a stick figure is because that makes it really easy now, because now I know like what his shape of his body is going to look like. So now I can add details, like I can add his like his chest. I can add his like arm, make it a little bit thicker right there. I can add in this other arm. And I can add in the shapes going around those lines of the stick figure to make it look like it's not a stick figure. Kind of like that. Okay, so I'm just using those lines of the stick figure to make his body. Okay, so just like a guide of how to make it. Okay, just so that I know like what poses I should do for him, because otherwise, if you just start with just his head, you won't know exactly how to make his body or how to make him look like he's running. Okay, now we can add in just more Egyptians at his side. So we can just add in more people, more heads, just like this. Another head over here, and do the same thing where his back is going back and his legs are going forward and one backward. Maybe he could be holding a sword like that. And you can see that I made this one bigger because he's closer to us, right? He's closer to the camera. He's like closer to the where we're looking. So he's going to look bigger. Okay, and that's why he's bigger than Paro, but he's not actually bigger. And now I'll do the same thing I did before, just add in his body. So I'll add in like a rectangle for his chest, some lines to go along with his legs on each side, maybe some feet, and some little lines for the arms. And if you want, you can give him some hair, big head of hair, and maybe a sword. For the sword, I do a little rectangle on top of his hand, and like a really big, like sharp sword. Here, I'll hold that up so you could see. Okay, and you could even see inside of his body like the different lines I used to make him using those stick figure lines. And now that I finished drawing him, I can now erase those little lines I used to make him. I'll just take my eraser and just erase like inside of his body, those different parts that I used to make him. Okay, I'll just add in maybe like one or two more. Maybe I'll just add in like a foot over here to make it look like someone else is coming. Maybe I'll add another person like way back there, like super, super, super small. And when I'm making them really small, like really far back, you don't even need to make the stick figure. You don't even need to like think about it so much because they're so small that I just like adding in these little like dots with like little ovals and little lines under it for the legs, kind of make them look like they are people. Okay, and a bunch of different people all around just chasing after B'nai Israel. All right, maybe one more. And you can add in as many as you want. If you're watching the recording, you can kind of press pause and just add in more. Or if you're here live, you can just skip it for now and come back to it because we want to make sure that we have enough time to finish the comic. We're so close to finishing, guys, so close. All right, now all the way over here, we're going to make B'nai Israel. Okay, now just like on the previous page, we made B'nai Israel just really far in the distance, kind of just like with little bodies, little heads like this. Watch this, guys. There's a little oval with a teeny tiny circle on it for the head. And another one, little oval, teeny tiny circle. A bunch of these little teeny tiny people. Kind of like little ants, really far in the background. All grouped up. And you want to make sure you leave some room for the sea, for the Yam Suf, the Red Sea. Okay, give you guys a second to do that. Okay, now I think we're ready to move on to the background. In the background, we're going to have is something like we've had over here, a bunch of hills. Just gonna add a bunch of little hills way in the background, just like this. And I'm not gonna draw over that speech bubble. I'm just gonna continue on this side. I'm just gonna do a line going down at the end. Just a line going down from those mountains. Okay, so we can have like a little peak right there. Then it goes down. And the reason I'm not gonna finish it off because we're gonna have the Yam Suf, the Red Sea, right over there. Okay, so we have all these curves just for the top, little hills in the background. Now right over here, we're gonna have the Yam Suf because the Jews are kind of like at a trap, like they're stuck. So I'm gonna start off by just having a squiggly line going back and forth. Watch, there's a squiggly line going back and forth, going to the side. For the edge of the sea, it's kind of like the waves crashing onto the shore. And then for the other side, let's have a line going across. Watch this, just from that middle of that mountain, it's a line going across for this sea, for this, the Yam Suf, for the Red Sea. Okay, so you have hills on this side, then they stop. Then we have the line going across for the flat sea with some waves crashing onto the shore, and Bnei Israel, such the Jews, kind of right in front of it. And if you want to, you can even add the cloud that Hashem put in front of Bnei Israel, or you can put it in behind them, because the cloud did move from the front of them to the back of them once the Egyptians came. I'm just gonna put it in front. So I'm just gonna add in a big like cloud. For this cloud, I'm gonna do a wavy line, like a bumpy line going up into the sky, like that. So a big cloud, like right in front of them. And the reason I did that just because that's what it says in the Torah. If you don't want to include, maybe you think it ruins the drawing, you don't have to include it, obviously. And then either you can erase inside the cloud, you could erase this line in the back, or when you color it in, you could kind of make it look like this cloud is see-through. Because some clouds, you know, if clouds are really light, then they can be see-through in the back. So when you color, you can just color like very lightly with white. So it looks like you could see the sea behind it, but it's like a little bit white where the cloud kind of goes over it. Okay, and again, like I said before, if you want to add in so many more people, so many more people over there, so many more people over here, so many things you can add. But for now, let's just continue on to this next scene, because this next scene is probably the most exciting scene of the entire comic. Well, that's also exciting. This is also this is like more cool, exciting. And in this scene, this final scene, Hashem splits the sea. Hashem splits the Yam Suf for the Bnei Israel, for the Jews, to walk through. And for that, I'm going to start off with two big curves for the opening of it. One. Okay, I made it too small to begin with, so I just made it bigger the second time. One on one side and one on the other side. Okay, so two big curves for the splitting of the sea. And then what I'm going to do, if you ever seen the ocean, like when a big wave is coming, it kind of looks like a cloud at the top of the wave, right? Kind of like with the foam, like the white of the wave, like kind of crumbling down. So the top of these big curves, I'm just gonna add like a little cloud shape. It goes like as if there's like a little cloud at the top of this wave on each side. Okay, and it's just coming just from the top. There's a little cloud on the side. And then next to that cloud, a little bit like in the middle of it, or a little bit below, I'm just gonna make a line going across. Line going across on either side. And so that's inside of the ocean, and this is already dry land right here. See, it's like the two waves. The eastern wind is holding them back. Hashem is holding them apart so that the Israel, the Jews, can walk through. And now what we're just going to do is we're going to add in two lines just to continue this down. Okay, so we're going to add in one line going this way and one line going this way. So two diagonal lines just to continue the wave. See, I'm not connecting them, but it's kind of like I'm making a triangle, but I'm not connecting them. You can add in another one if you want, right over there. And that's going to be like it's like we're looking through this entire open part to see the other side. Okay, so we're gonna make another of these two diagonal lines for the bottom. Like that. Okay, so we have two diagonal lines for the bottom, kind of like a triangle, and two diagonal lines for the top. Also kind of like a triangle, but again, we're not connecting them. We are going to connect each side to that side's other line. Okay, so I'm going to start from the bottom, and we're just going to make a curve going up from the bottom to the top. And from the bottom to the top, we're going to do that for either side. This will make up like the walls of the Yam Suf. Because we have two curves splitting it up on either side. And then just like we did before with that straight line going across, we can do another straight line just going across right over here on either side. And if you wanted to like add that little like wave crashing part, like that cloud kind of shape, you could also do that going down the whole way. But that's obviously up to you and what you want to include. I think it makes it look pretty cool, having that like wave crashing like onto the other part of the ocean, or the sea, I mean. And then way back in the background, I would just add in some more little hills, kind of like we've been doing before. Little like rounded out triangles for the hills, way, way, way in the back. And then if you want to, you can also add in some people over here. For the people, start with a circle and then do two curves, kind of like an oval for their body, just because you're adding a whole bunch of people, so we can't really add in so much detail. I'm gonna start in the front, and you just want to work your way down. Okay, so I'm starting with the really big circles in the front, and then as I go down, they're becoming smaller and smaller because they're further and further away from us. Like that. Okay, so we have really big circles for the ones that are towards the bottom of this frame, ones that are closer to us, and smaller circles as ones that are further away. And if you see, I actually have some lines going through their heads. Oh no. So I don't want that. So I'm just going to take my eraser and erase those little lines for the parts where they go over the heads or through the heads. Because I don't really want that. I don't want their heads to have a line going through them. And I erased some of their heads by accident, which I also didn't want to do, so I was going to redraw some of them. There we go, we got everyone walking through. Then if you want to, you can add in, I don't know, you can add in maybe some waves over here, little waves. Some lines in the back. See the little lines in the back for the small waves because they're so far away. And some like choppy waves, like little wavy lines in the front. Okay, if you want to give it in some curves going up like that to show it's like a wall. And you can even add in maybe, I don't know, maybe a fish over here A little triangle for my fish, and a little oval for the other part of the fish to make it look like it's the ocean. All right, so I just added a bunch of fish just to make it look like it's on the inside of the ocean. And that's the end of that box. I mean, this box is, I think, one of the coolest boxes because it just looks like such a cool effect. I like how the sea is splitting. It's like two walls on either side. And then we have all of this, all the people on the inside. We have the waves, we have the mountains in the background, and we even have the fish. If you want to, you can even add in a cloud. Just over here on the side, just a straight line, and maybe just a cloud, bumpy lines on top. But really just such a cool box, such a cool frame to end this comic strip on. And I think it looks really cool. Well, all right, guys, that was the end of this Pesach comic workshop. Together, we just drew a comic for the entire Pesach story. And I know that was a little bit long because the Pesach story is pretty long, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm just looking back here at these comics, and I am really proud of myself for making all of these. And I hope you are also proud of yourselves of the comic that you guys just made. Because right now we have like, what is this, 4 pages of comics. And what's really cool about it is that now you guys can color in and add things to your comics. So we have so many pages over here that we just did all together. And one thing that you can add actually is on the last page, if you look at it, the page we just did, we only have a comic strip for the top, right? So for the bottom, it's actually empty, but it doesn't have to stay empty. What I would actually recommend doing, and this is all up to your creativity, so I don't want to show you guys what I'm going to do, but you guys can decide what you want to do. But this is an idea. What I think I'm going to do with that little empty space right there is I'm going to write some bubble letters and write either Happy Pesach or Chag Sameach or The End or something cute like that. So if you guys want, you can write in some really awesome bubble letters there, or you can add another picture, or really anything you want. If you don't know how to draw bubble letters, you can write regularly, or I have other classes where I teach you how to draw bubble letters as well. If you guys do want to learn how to do bubble letters or learn how to draw Parsha comics instead of Pesach comics, or if you want to learn how to draw something like, I don't know, the beach or penguin or really anything, I have drawing classes of all different topics on my website, andidrew.com. And I also teach live classes. So if you don't want to watch recordings, you can also join a live class where I'll be able to see you on Zoom. But now is a really great time to start coloring in your comics. I normally use colored pencils. You can also use markers. And one thing I would recommend is taking a thin pen, very thin pen, and tracing over the pencil comic drawings. Then after you trace over with the pencil, after you trace over the pencil with a pen, so you're using a pen on top of the pencil, then you can take a big fat eraser and erase all of the pencil drawings. Then it's a really crisp and a really finished pen comic. And then after that, you can even add color inside of the pen lines. So if you look at the comics in the background over here, my Parsha comics, you'll see that I actually do that over here with the black. Then within the black, I have the color. And once you finish coloring it in, or if you don't want to color it in, if you just want to leave it as is, I would really love to see your finished comics. Because this is only recording. I didn't get to see you guys live on Zoom like some of my other drawing classes. So what you guys can do is you can email it to me. My email is at the bottom of the screen, right over there. It is art, which is A-R-T, at my website, andidrew.com. Like I went on Zoom and I drew. Or what you guys can do, and I highly recommend you guys do this, is you publish your own comics. By publish, I mean, well, I'm trying to publish a book. I don't think you guys can publish a book. If you can publish a book, maybe you could staple them together and share it with your family. That would be really, really cool. What you guys can do is you can you can have your parents post it on Instagram or Facebook for all of their friends to see. And that way it's like your comic is published into the world. And that way all your family and friends can see your comic on your parents' Facebook or Instagram. And if you do this and tag me, you'll actually get a free drawing class recording from any recording that you want that I've done before. Or at least send your comic to my email because I would love to see your comic. So guys, with that, I'll just end over here with saying Happy Pesach if it is Pesach right now for you. Or I hope you have a great Pesach if it's not Pesach yet. And thank you so much for drawing with me in this comic workshop. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, I hope to see you guys in some of my other classes, either live or you can join a recorded class like this one to do another drawing with me. All right, guys, thank you so much. Happy Pesach. And I hope you guys enjoyed this comic workshop for Pesach.